Well, welcome to the next edition of Spilling the Tea here in Studio D, a podcast of all things education. So we're very honored this morning to have the folks from our pre-K program here, ABC Pre-K. So the way we like to start is this: just kind of tell us a little bit about you and what motivated you to want to work with kids.
Are you gonna tell everybody their names first?
Oh, well, they can introduce themselves, right?
Well, they can.
How about you do it since you brought it up?
Okay. So we have Miss Diedra Middeton with us and Miss Shasta Pentecost, and you know, as our lovely director likes to call them, freaking frack.
Right. Absolutely.
All right, sorry, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm Shasta Pentecost, like she said, and I actually didn't go to college to be a teacher. I went thinking I was going to do physical therapy. Went to UCA for that and volunteered at Special Olympics and decided immediately that I wanted to do something with kids and thought I was going to coach. So I got a PE coaching degree. And my first teaching job was at Malvern for first and second grade elementary PE teacher. And then
Go Leopards.
Yes. I got my master's. I started that right after I graduated in counseling. So I then moved to the Arkadelphia School District as the counselor at Parrott Primary for pre-K second. Worked there for 4 years, and then a position opened at Dawson for behavior specialist for early childhood. And so I took that position, and then when the ABC, I worked a lot with the ABCs as the behavior specialist, and then when that coordinator's position opened, I took that. So this will be my 4th year as the ABC coordinator.
How many years total here at Dawson?
Total here at Dawson would be 15.
Wow.
Awesome.
Okay.
Now, did you go to high school?
I went to
Arkadelphia.
Arkadelphia.
I could make
Arkadelphia.
that.
Arkadelphia.
You're about to be in trouble.
That's what I was trying to say.
Arkadelphia. I did go to high school in Arkadelphia. My husband went to school in Girton for a little bit.
With Michael, right?
Well, Michael went to Arkadelphia too, but
Oh, okay.
Toby moved to Arkadelphia in 6th grade. So he came to Arkadelphia. So he did go, we're a blended family.
Yeah, I started to say, I can't believe you just said that in front of a Gurdonite. Hey,
Hey, that's where the commissioner
Hey.
Went to
That's
Girton.
right.
That's
that's
right.
right. That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, Diedra, what about you? What brought you to the point of wanting to work with kids?
Well, I got a degree in business, and I started out working for a pharmacy. And an opening came up at Dawson, working as a secretary for several different departments. And so I started there and got hired in, and I started out with early childhood.
Right.
And after Dawson decided to start an ABC program, they Miss Jester asked me if I wanted to come over to ABC, and I said sure.
Right.
So that's how I started with ABC, and been loving it.
And obviously you went to high school at Gurdon, right?
Yes, that's right. Garden, I am a go devil.
All right.
Yeah, you two make a great team, by the way. Y'all are awesome.
Well, a lot of folks out there know what pre-K is. They know what ABC is. But explain that process a little bit. I think sometimes, what ABC, that piece of it, they don't understand when it comes to, funding on both sides, from us getting the funds and to the parents, why ABC is a benefit, I guess is the best way to say that.
Okay. Well, I'll start with just saying the ABC stands for Arkansas Better Chance. So that's, a lot of people ask that question first. And so it's a funded program, and it's for when it was developed, they saw that they didn't have a lot of childcare was definitely needed, and especially affordable childcare, because childcare is very expensive.
Right.
And so what ABC does is our tuition is based on a sliding scale. So we, depending on each family's income, determines their tuition. So they can either attend, it's about, there's free, then you pay 20%, 40% on up. And so it's very beneficial to parents. One of the differences in an ABC preschool and another preschool is that the teachers, we do have certified teachers in Arkansas. The pairs are required to have certain certifications, either a CDA, which is the Child Development Associate, or an Early Childhood Degree and Associate's degree. And we have curriculums that the state approves for us to use. Also, last year, they rolled out a pre-K Rise, and we were in the, kind of the pilot program for that to bring that. It's called Launchpad is the curriculum, but it's through the pre-K Rise. So we do that in all of our classrooms. And then we're housed in school districts. So we have 40 classrooms in 17 districts. So we serve about 800 kids a year and families. We also have other resources. The thing with it is that there's no cost to parents based on the tuition. We provide school supplies for everyone. We provide breakfast, lunch, and snacks for every child. We have a lot of resources, too, that we send out to parents just, to help them out. Because, especially now with, child care is a big cost. So
That's awesome.
And teachers, the kindergarten teachers all have been telling us that they can see the difference in the students that have attended the preschool programs and the ones that's been at home because they're ready.
They kind of get that head start on it.
So you hit on something earlier, I think, is kind of how ABC started with folks seeing the need to get kids engaged earlier. And I think sometimes the misconception is, number one, that it's all academic, and it's not that. There's fun time built in, a lot of fun time built in. So I guess my question when I come to that, post the biggest part of the pandemic, are you seeing more kids? How did the pandemic affect us?
Okay, that's a good question. So the first year of the pandemic, I think a lot of people were kind of leery to put their kids in school, especially because it is optional. It's not required. So we did see that first year after, at the beginning, a few lower numbers. But then at about Christmas, it started picking back up. And we've seen, a rise in numbers. One of the biggest things that, we could say about one of the things with the pandemic is the social skills. We're seeing a huge delay because the kids were at home and not able to be social. And so over the last couple of years, this year, we have a huge enrollment already. A lot of our centers are already full with waiting lists because, like he said, so much of our day, ABC requires so much of our day to be in free play, which basically means they're in centers. They get to choose what they play with. Of course, that's how they're learning through the learning centers, but it requires them to be interactive, and a lot of our instruction is, social skills. Another really good thing is, too, that all kids in the ABC program are screened with our early childhood special education. So they do a screening to see, are there some speech delays or social delays? And if so, we go ahead and start those services immediately, hoping that in kindergarten, they will have improved to maybe not even need those services or at least get a jump start on them.
Right. In social behavior, that's one thing that I continue to hear across the board, that it's affected, students. I would say probably I hear the most talk about it, to the mid-level, wouldn't you say? Probably. Not a lot in the high school, but that's certainly something, even if you pull the pandemic out, we're just dealing with a different set of kids. They just see the world differently. It's kind of like technology, where it may take me, 12 minutes to make a 2-line text. My son knocks it out in 30 seconds kind of thing. But I think the other thing that's important, you mentioned it earlier too, was our relationship with the school districts. And let's talk a little bit about how that partnership might look.
Okay, so we have an agreement with the school districts. They welcome us in and house us, and we have a lot. Most of them are just on the hall. A lot of times with the kindergarten hall, or in a building on campus, which is good too because the kids have an experience. They get to eat in the cafeteria. They are on the play. We have our own separate playground typically, but it's on the big playground, so they are able to meet teachers and be in the schools. So they welcome us in. They provide I tell people all the time, if you go to a school, you know, the pre-K, you wouldn't know that they weren't an employee
Right.
of that district.
Right.
The principals work great with us. We're able to, you know, collaborate with those kindergarten teachers and say, hey, what are some things that you want us to focus on in pre-K, so that we can do that. They, you know, get to meet the school nurse,
Right.
all of those things. So it's, as far as even, like you said, in addition to academics, they're socially getting more ready and used to school. Parents are too, because it's scary to take your kids to school and drop them off. So
Oh, yeah.
it's kind of eases them into that. So they're used to being at the school, you know, the school that they're going to attend when they start.
My sister-in-law is a kindergarten teacher, and she mentioned, you know, just with the pandemic, the kids that hadn't started kindergarten and then come back, and then they
Right.
don't know how to do school, as in
Absolutely.
get in line and do this. So they had to
Yeah.
first grade, they're having to teach, you know. So I think, yeah, I think that experience with pre-K is awesome.
And I think probably the other side of that is the schools basically do an in-kind donation,
They do.
right?
They do.
They give us the facilities, I guess would be the best way to say that, in turn for running the program
Right.
at their school.
Right, and they take care. You know, they the facilities, the like the nurse, or you know, some of the other people that are on staff.
They help sometime with our playgrounds and
They do.
things like that to keep us.
Yeah, you guys were just working on that last week, weren't you?
We are working on
Chasing shades. I guess.
looking for shade because it's hot.
Yeah.
Some of
Oh,
those
yeah.
playgrounds, so
Structures,
Oh.
trike paths.
we're doing that. Because one of the other things too, I think is important is that because we know kids a lot of times don't get to play outside like they used to. ABC requires the 60 minutes of gross motor play, which is outside a day, and so which is great for kids because a lot of kids don't really know how to play outside. Whether it's they don't have a safe place to play outside, or they're just used to being, you know, indoors. So we have, you know, a lot of them do 2 30-minute outdoor play, or some do, you know, an hour, depending on the weather. If it's too hot, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
The other thing I think in recent, I guess you could say recent days, is the new pre-K licensure.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, so they came up with a new licensure this year that is a fantastic opportunity for those who are working in early childhood. So if you have a bachelor's degree, not a teaching license, but a bachelor's degree in early childhood, they have programs that you can go and get your initial pre-K license. So on your teacher's license, it would be, you know, you are licensed to teach pre-K. And it involves, it's about a 6-week program. You go to 1 class in the summer and then 2 classes in the fall, pass the early childhood praxis, and then you will have your teaching license in pre-K, which is a great opportunity for those who
Right. Yeah, I would think, you know, it's going to open up doors on, you know, both sides as we look for teachers, and then as those folks that were somewhat, I hate to say locked in, but it was kind of that way they couldn't do, which this makes perfectly good sense to me. I mean, they're already licensed at the elementary level, most of them, or have that bachelor's degree, I'm sorry.
Right.
But they have the elementary hours, and there's no reason we shouldn't be putting them in there. So, but I guess let's talk about that just for a second. Is, you know, I keep reading, although the numbers are ticking back up, but not at any kind of great pace. But just teachers in general. I mean, there's not the overall numbers that we've had in the past. So, your thoughts, either one of you, on why that may be?
Well, I know it has been harder finding teachers. You know, we're still looking for a couple. So I think, you know, this is one way that people, because some people too, especially with pre-K, they know they want young kids.
Right.
You know, there's no reason to do older because that's what they want. So that this allows just, if you know you want to do pre-K, then this gives you that, you know, that opportunity to do that. So, you know, and I don't know if I'm not really sure. You know, I don't know if the pandemic and all of that, I know it was hard on so many people, and, you know, schools had to change so many things and kind of all learn together, and it made it hard. it did.
Right.
So,
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those things I think everybody has in their mind why it may or may not be. It's a tough job.
Absolutely.
But the thing about this is, without a doubt in my mind, it's the most rewarding job I've ever had.
Amen.
And that's the kind of folks you want or need.
absolutely.
Because they say nobody gets an education, right, to become a millionaire or whatever. But you can't, honestly, as corny and as it sounds, you just can't put a price tag, on those situations where a kid comes up to you later in life and says, "Hey, I appreciate you for doing X or what have you." So
I know I'm like, I've told Darren before, I can't imagine teaching pre-K kids. I'm a total secondary.
Yeah.
Probably the lowest I'll go is 5th grade.
There's a lot out there right now. The students, they go through a lot, and when they come to school, they have that sense of security where
Right.
at home they may not have that.
yeah,
You're
and that's something of recent past that I've seen. I mean, it was at a fever pitch during the pandemic, but that's I see more and more districts signing up. Getting the parents to sign up for meals, whether it be on weekends when they're shut down in the summer. There used to be a few of those around the state, but I dare say there's quite a few now, and I think it's hard to educate a hungry kid.
Sure. Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
And that's one of the things with ABC. One of the rules and guidelines is a child can't go more than 3 hours without having a meal at school. So we do a breakfast, and then within 3 hours of lunch, and then in 3 hours a snack. And they're all, nutritionally based, and that, so that at school, those, that need is taken care of.
That sounds like your routine when it comes to eating.
It's pretty close.
She's always got something in her hand. I don't know what.
I'm like, I need to eat this before I go talk to Darren because he's gonna be like, eating again.
So,
Well, I have to snack. I get
Yeah.
like,
Look, I'm a good eater too.
So, the kids that are coming to us now, again, like we said earlier, different, I guess, is a word we could use. But there's lots of differences, I think, not only in education, but, I think about, when I got in school, I was the last class, believe it or not, that year that kindergarten was not a requirement. So the very next year it was. But what I'm trying to get at is the importance, you hit on it a while ago, of the social skills.
Sure.
And in the beginning, it's kind of tough to reel some of those kids
Oh,
in.
absolutely.
And then by the end of the
he's like,
but by the end of the year, right, they've learned, like you said, the
They have.
socialization with other kids, and that's one of those things I think. Because on the backside of that, when you talk to employers, they're saying that's what's missing, right?
Sure.
They don't know how to interact, and
Yeah.
so finding that to be very important.
but
Yeah.
go ahead.
Well, one of the things is, too, we provide the opportunity for the social skills and then also guide those,
Right.
because they're playing in centers. We set up social scenarios to where we can see something happen. And that's one of the biggest things that we focus on. If a conflict comes between kids, don't just solve it for them. Teach them how they can solve it the next time. We talk together, and we'll tell kids, like, he called me this name. Well, tell him, I don't like it when you call me this.
Right.
My name is so-and-so. Or, if he took a toy from me, what can you say? So we provide that environment, but then also teach while it's going on.
Yeah, that's good.
And one of the things, too, I see, so many kids now, they're just so used to technology. And they, we see, and they come to us. And one of my goals is, just because this is most of them's first experience, is to start it off positive. I want them to have I want the parents to have a positive first experience at school, and the kids. And so just getting that, positive interaction and off to a great start, and, give them those skills they're going to need, for kindergarten. How do we walk in line? How do we, use our walking feet? Keep your hands to yourself, inside voices, kind hearts, those kind of things. So
That's
Are
awesome.
you taking notes?
Yeah. Maybe. No, I was going to say, even with pre-K, I just think I'm a old secondary teacher, junior high and high school, and I don't know. I think when you bring the fun in, and that's, secondary, I think can take a lot of pages from pre-K and elementary, is make it fun and laugh, because, kids,
Yeah, I
they
think
want to play.
I think at any level, all the way through college, even, you got to be somewhat have the ability to entertain from time to time to keep them focused. So
I mean, that's what we talk about all the time. I mean, we're older.
And it's
Darren's old, but
and it's
we like to play.
rewarding
Oh,
when
yeah.
you see the parents being so excited, because when they see that their child, we have some that are a little bit, what's the word?
Challenging.
But when you give that parent something positive, and at the end
Yes.
of the year, you see that parent, that when they come to the family days and everything, and you see that parent, and see their child doing well and have done well, then they're excited too.
Yeah.
well, I won't lie about it, because if I'm having a down day, I mean, pre-K is my go-to. You know what I'm saying? Because never a dull moment in there.
Never
They do
don't.
not have a filter.
Yeah, I tell them all the time. I tell parents, I said, your kids tell us everything,
That's right. Yeah.
and they're completely honest. They will
Yeah.
they will look
They don't
at
know-
you and
they
just
don't know
tell
not
you,
to.
and
I used to say, teaching just keeps you young, because you just, I mean, mentally, Darren's like, yeah, you totally, but
Yeah.
I mean, you act like a kid. I mean, not like a kid, but you want to play and have fun, and
Well, yeah.
it does keep you young. I don't feel like I'm
Yeah, in
almost
order
50.
to make that
I mean,
adjustment, I think you have to, because, as I said earlier, it's more of a societal thing than anything, but kids are just different from year to year, decade to decade. So I think you're right. You got to learn to roll with the punches
Right.
and adapt to the type of kids we have, rather than trying to, be you on a new set of kids that, like you were saying, come to y'all with an iPad or something. By
Yeah.
the time they hit high school, I mean,
Yeah.
you better be tap dancing some days, right?
yeah, hey, that's the truth. Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, we'll wrap up here in just a second, and when we do, we like to ask a couple of questions. So,
They're like, great.
and but what I would say, I want both of y'all to answer them. Okay. So, well, the first one is, if you weren't doing this, what do you think you would do? What would be the dream outside of what you're doing now?
Well, I have two. So I also have my I'm a licensed professional counselor, so I have my degree there. So I would like to have a private practice counseling for kids and adults at some point. And then always growing up, I always said I wanted to be a mail lady. And,
Yeah.
Deliver
and
the
I
mail,
still,
huh?
because I like to walk and I like those. So
Yeah.
either
You
one
get to
of
see
those.
different sides of the area that you serve. Yeah.
I guess I just hadn't really thought about it, because, this is I'm starting year 31 with Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
And before then, and when you say mail, I went and took the postal test.
You did.
And I passed it, and they sent me a letter. They tried to send me to Hope. And I wrote back on there, well, when you have something in Arkadelphia, let me know. And my brother-in-law, who retired from the postal service, said, you shouldn't have done that. So needless to say, I have not heard from them. But, I guess I've just, once I've got here with Dawson and I've gotten in the education game, in that field, I just enjoy it. I enjoy the children. I enjoy seeing them grow. You see them later, when they're in high school and everything. Oh, I can't believe they're graduating. I had them, they were in our preschool program. And you see them achieving things, it's just kind of rewarding. I just hadn't thought about anything
Yeah.
else.
Well, mine kind of happened in reverse, because like you're saying, from 10, 12, I always want to be on the radio, and good Lord, I mean, He blessed me with that opportunity, but at the same time, He put me in front of kids, whether it be Red Ribbon Week or Career Day or whatever, and but like you're saying, I wouldn't have it any other way, because again, we've all said that today. The rewards really do outweigh. I mean, it only takes one kid, and everybody told me when I first got into it, they'll say, if you touch the life of one kid, you've done your job. And man, there have been lots of kids that are now adults that come back and see the light, if you will. So, but yeah, I never did ask you, what would you be doing?
No, well, you did. We talked about this.
What was that?
I mean, I don't know. I've always wanted to teach since I was a kid, but I worked at the pharmacy, and that's when I was going through and getting my math classes, and they were horribly hard. And I told my mother, if I make a D in this math class, I'm quitting, and I'm going to do pharmacy school, because I was working at a pharmacy at the time. But I would have been, could you see me as a pharmacist? I would have been like, I couldn't have done it. They have to stay in one place pretty much most of the day, and y'all know I'm like 90 miles an hour all the time. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Well, another one, another question I heard the other day too, I thought was interesting, was when you hear the word, well, here I go, I'm losing it, but regret was the word. So he said, when you hear the word regret, kind of define that. What do you think regret may or may not be?
I would say that regret is wishing you had done something different, either made a different choice or said a different thing or reacted a different way to something happening.
Right. And I guess to expand on that, anybody have that, moment where you said, I should have done something else, So have you had that experience?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I haven't
I
either.
do, as far as a whole. I mean, I've had it with little things. Maybe I should have handled this situation a little different.
Right.
Or maybe I should have said something a little different. But as far as my career choice, never so.
Right.
As regret. And I think, even because you guys all see too, and I think that's why when I look at using my counseling degree in the future, I think about, yes, we can help families here, but I want to be able to really dig deep with.
Right.
Because I do feel that in order to help kids, you have to help families. And so being able to actually work with families as a whole, not only just the kids, but the parents and those kind of things, because mental health to me is a huge thing right now.
Right.
Even
to
more so.
everybody, yeah.
Absolutely. And we see the results of that. So I think I can take what I've learned in the classroom and just being around kids and families and build on that to more of a in-depth level there. So
I don't regret any career choices. Like,
Right.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else, I don't think. But, of course, sometimes I open my mouth. I do regret some things that I say.
Well, and like I said, I don't know that I do professionally have any. If I had to, kind of zero it down, and I tell this to young parents all the time: spend as much time as you humanly possible. You need to do it because, as we all know, it goes by quick, and shoulda, coulda, woulda. So sometimes I think we get wrapped up in what we're doing. And I feel for the teachers. I know, when they get home, man, they're exhausted. They've dealt from all kinds of stuff during the day. Their mind's constantly running and constantly answering questions, that kind of time. So, but yeah, at the end of the day, like I said, I feel like I spend a lot of time with my son, but at the end of the day, as I look back on it, there was probably instances when I could have and should have spent more time.
Sure.
I would agree with that, too.
me too.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see.
You're not
got a-
gonna,
you
you're
got
not
a
going to let them
question?
off the music question, are you?
Oh,
What's on their
yeah,
playlist?
we hadn't asked that in a while.
Yeah.
What's on your playlist
Yeah.
right now?
I have a very wide variety of playlists. So as far as if I'm listening to a podcast, I'm a crime junkie.
Me too. I like those.
I love that. If I'm listening to the radio, I kind of flip between country music, pop, K-Love. I just kind of rotate. I really like all kinds,
Me
but
too.
just a variety.
I just been say I've learned to like them all. I'm a Power 92 jams.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's on my station. Like, I got my stations in my card, just all different.
variety.
Yeah. They were talking about music the other day at the conference, saying how, kids, old math teacher, we taught kids how to sing the quadratic formula.
Right.
And my cousin would tell you, I can't remember anything about math, but I could sing the dang quadratic formula. But that's legit. Because when we were listening to it, I was like, they taught us some song in like 4th grade of the 50 states. I can sing every stinking one
yeah.
of those
Do
states.
you remember, what was that, Schoolhouse Rock?
Oh yeah,
On Saturdays?
yeah.
When we got ready to do the preamble in school, I was like, I sung it, "We the People."
Yeah,
See,
yeah,
if,
that's right.
and I'm serious.
right,
If
yeah.
they could put I mean, if you could put so much to music,
Right.
it's a game changer.
Well,
We still do. Like we have color songs, so they spell.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sing because no one wants to hear that. But we could spell a song.
Why not,
spell a
Shasta?
color. We spell a color, and then talk about the things that are that color.
Give us an example, Shasta.
Not.
we well, I mean, you hit on something both of y'all did about the music and Schoolhouse Rock. I mean, the other day there was a presenter and a room full of people, and she did the when I say conjunction junction, watch your and the entire audience yelled out function. So, okay, we'll end on this one. So, I mean, I know you've got lots of it, but what would be the single most important piece of advice you would give a brand new teacher? And the room went silent.
No,
Because she's thinking of the list that she would tell them.
I do. I have several, but I think the thing I would tell them the most is what you focus on, you get the most of. And that is across the board in anything.
Right.
You know, if you focus on the positive, you're going to get more positive. If you focus on, what the kids are doing right, you're going to see that. When somebody told me that, and then I started really thinking about it, like when I was looking for, you're looking for a new car and you think, oh, I'm going to get this. Well, it just seems, it's like, well, every car I see is that. Well, there's not
Right.
more cars. You just
Right.
start noticing that now.
Right.
So I think that would help so much, especially with teaching, and as hard as it is right now, because we can get easily focused on all the things
Yeah.
that are going wrong and all the negative and all the issues that everyone's having. But if we take time to focus on the positive things and the
Right.
things that are going good.
Well, and I think it's also important. I mean, we understand it, but they need to understand that every day is not going to be perfect. You're going to have days that don't go as you planned, or some kind of crisis might pop up. I mean, that's life. And like you're saying, you got to learn to roll with the punches.
Absolutely.
And that's not only in teaching. I mean, I think that's whatever you're doing. What about you, Diedra?
Well, I was sitting back thinking about what Shasta said, and then with me having experience with working with Sharon also as a behavior
Right.
consultant, and I would listen to her reports and everything, and it was like she told, I remember her saying this in her reports several times, that I don't care what you say to that parent, but you make sure to say something positive to them before
Right.
you start off with negative.
Right.
Because, I don't care if it's, oh, he showed up today for school.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Right.
make sure you start out with a positive.
Right. What about you? I don't even know that.
Gosh, I have so many things that I could say, but I don't know. You guys just all know my heart. So I'm thinking my heart for kids. So I probably would tell them that you love and make every single kid in that room
Right.
feel important. Every kid. Even
Right.
make sure that they all get noticed.
Right.
Because there's so many that just don't get noticed.
Right.
And I don't know. We all need to feel like we're loved and belong. And I
Right.
just think that, I don't know. I have a
I
list that I would
Yeah.
tell
I do
them.
too. I do too.
Yeah.
Because positive is right. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah.
you got to be positive.
Right. Well, and I also think you hit on the perception piece. We did a little experiment. I had a speaking engagement about a month or two ago, but it was for all the parental involvement people. So I rolled in late, dirty jeans and a hat, sat down, and was just being so interrupted at my table.
Imagine that.
And then, yeah.
That's every day.
Yeah. And so when it came time to get up there and do my thing, my point was, your perception is not my reality. And if you're not careful, I think that can happen.
Yeah, because they said at the table, they were like thinking, who is this guy?
Yeah.
They had already judged
Yeah.
you.
And one of them said, she said, I leaned in and told my partner over here that I was going to have to visit with him at break. I mean, I know he don't want to be here. And that was the other thing I told him. I said, yeah, I'm not here on my own, I was forced to be here. So, but anyway.
That's great.
But at the end of the day, it's that perception piece. I mean, it's easy to sit here and say take the blinders off and see every kid as a kid, but man, it makes life better for the kids even. So
Oh yeah, I know.
All right.
Just see them like Jesus does.
that's
you know?
right, exactly.
Right.
Well, I appreciate y'all coming in. Any parting words before we wrap up?
Thanks for having us.
Okay, yeah. Well, thanks for coming in.
You've been pretty nice.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this version, or episode, I should say, maybe, of Spilling the Tea in Studio D.